Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. Are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, let's talk. No touching. I don't do the touching. You want a hug? I need a hug. Come on, come in. Let's talk. So it's today. Is it February? February. What date is it today? Is it June the 14th, 15th, whatever? Originally, if Zack Snyder's plan had actually been carried out by Warner Brothers, on today's date, Justice League 2 would have been released. I repeat, Justice League 2 would have been released. We would have seen a film, and we've been told this by Zack Snyder already, where the team go to Apokolips to fight Darkseid and his minions. What an amazing film that would have been. In what reality, Warner Brothers, do you cancel a plan like this? Zack Snyder's Man of Steel made around 600 million, right? Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman made around 850 million. Suicide Squad made just under 800 million. Wonder Woman made 800 million, right? And Justice League, even a dumbed down Frankenstein's monster, made 650. That's not bad considering the issues and the problems we already know exist, right? And then you've got Aquaman that takes $1 billion. And then you've got Shazam on a 90 million budget, 100 million, making just under 400 million. These are good, solid numbers. But of course, Warner Brothers know the potential of DC Comics and the potential of superheroes right now. They want to break records. They want to do MCU money. And they weren't doing that. But it was beyond that. They became very nervous because of the public reaction to the DCEU and Zack Snyder. So, what should have happened? As a fan of Man of Steel and BVS and the rest of the films, what do I think Warner Brothers should have done? I believe they should have followed through with Zack's arc. Shall I tell you why? Because it's a beautiful arc. Zack Snyder's first Justice League movie would have made at least as much as BVS. I know maybe it would never have made the kind of money that they wanted. But if follow through with his plan, then end it. End his reign and then do the course correction. But what they did was foolhardy. What you do is these are not, look, people tell me studios are business people. Let's just say they know nothing about films, but they're business people. Was this good business practice? Let's look at the DCEU, right? We know the mainstream aren't particularly in love with the DCEU. We know critics don't like it. But the reason, the point being, millions of people around the world love Zack Snyder's vision. And in fact, more and more are coming to the table and beginning to appreciate what he did. Now, I've got a lot of friends at Amazon, at different music video stores, and I can tell you, now in terms of Blu-rays, there are certain DCEU titles that are still making more money than the MCU movies. For example, Man of Steel is still selling like hotcakes, especially on Amazon straight to video. Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, all these films that Zack casted and plotted out and actually brought in the directors. You love Patty Jenkins' vision of Wonder Woman? It was Zack Snyder who brought her on board. Guess she actually self-admitted herself that she needed Zack to help her with the choreography of the action to make it line up. Did we all like the action in Wonder Woman? Did we like the way Diana fought? That's because of Zack Snyder. Patty Jenkins gets full credit. 99.9% credit. She did an amazing job. Wonder Woman is one of my favourite CBMs of all time. And that's because of Patty and the people who wrote the screenplay and the story. No question about that. I'll take nothing away from the woman. She's amazing. Bring on Wonder Woman 1984. Zack casted this film beautifully. Is Henry Cavill not a great Superman? Is Ben Affleck not a great Batman? Is Margot Robbie not a great Harley Quinn? Is Gal Gadot not a great Wonder Woman? Is Jason Momoa not a great Aquaman? It was Zack Snyder who did this. And the least Warner Brothers should have done as a business is followed through. Let's call this the DCEU Phase 1. They should have followed through on the DCEU Phase 1. Then they get rid of Zach, I can't eat you, can I? I wouldn't want to. There's too many great projects for you to work on, but we need that Snyder Cut, don't we? But you follow through Phase 1, Zack Snyder's Phase 1. Let's just call it that, right? And then you say, right, we're bringing, because this is the DCEU, we had Zack doing Phase 1, then we're bringing in someone in to do Phase 2. You want Joss Whedon in? You want him to make your Batgirl movie? You want him involved in the new DCEU? Or you want James Gunn to be conceiving it now? Bring those guys in for Phase 2. But you don't say to someone in the middle of their work, sorry, you've got to go now. What happens? Of course it's going to be a mess. And now you're kind of backtracking with a course correction. And this is what they're doing now. But you allow Zack to do his 5-picture arc, which is Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League 2, and I'm assuming either the Batman or a Justice League 3. I don't know. You allow him to follow through on his Phase 1, and what a beautiful day today would have been. We would have all been rushing to the cinema, taking pictures and selfies near the posters, eating popcorn, enjoying his fabulous vision. Instead, what are we doing? We haven't got a Justice League 1 to watch because of what they did to it. We don't have a Justice League 2 to watch it. I'm frustrated and I'm angry and I'm sad. And I'm sad because Kevin Tsujihara and Warner Brothers weren't strong enough to follow through on a director's vision. They are boasting now. They are boasting that they are supportive of directors' visions now. And I believe them. And apart from what they've done in the DCEU with David Ayer and Zack Snyder, they've normally in their other projects been very, very thoughtful and were giving their storytellers and directors freedom of development. So Warner Brothers have always been great with that, especially with their New Line Cinema projects and, Conceive as an artist. There's no question about that. They have been fair to people. But when it came to the DCEU, they got nervous because they were in a rush to catch up with Disney. And it was wrong. I understand their thought process, but it was wrong. It's not how you run a business. Warner Brothers, you took something beautiful away from us. As I said, once this first phase was over, you could have said to Zack, thank you, Zack. It's somebody else's turn now. Let's see somebody else's vision there. That's what you could have done. In fact, if you wanted to, you could have just allowed his Justice League to come out and then bring someone else on board. But really, it would have been nice to get the Justice League too. Even have that as a conclusion, the battle on Apocalypse. Are you hearing me, DC fans? A Justice League 2 with the newly formed Justice League going to Apocalypse. Who wouldn't want to see that? Take my money now. Instead, we don't have any more DCEU movies this year. We will never get to see Zack's vision of Justice League 2. And we all wonder what might have been. What might have been. And what might have been would have been amazing. So instead, we're fighting for the Snyder Cut. Something that's going to be very hard for us to get. But I implore you all never to give up. Because Zack Snyder created something absolutely special. I don't care who doesn't agree. We do. We love it. We carry on fighting because of days like today. Because today, we should be watching Justice League 2.